Emily Carter was not like most 12-year-olds in Greensboro, North Carolina. She didn't care much for TikTok trends or the latest phone. Her idea of a good time wasn't going to the mall or texting friends, it was tightening bolts, checking oil pressure, and trying to understand combustion cycles. While other kids were biking around the neighborhood or playing Roblox, Emily was most often found covered in grease, deep in thought, beside her grandfather's tush. Her grandfather, Arthur Carter, was an old-school man. A Vietnam vet, a retired mechanical engineer, and once upon a time, a member of the legendary Shelby American team that designed the Cobra in the 1960s. In his prime, he helped fine-tune some of the fastest engines in racing history. He had settled into quiet retirement after his wife passed, but in Emily, he saw a spark that refused to die. From the age of 6, Emily would sit on an overturned milk crate in his garage, watching him restore old car parts. At first, she just watched. Then she asked questions. Then she started handing him tools. By the time she was 10, she was dismantling carburetors on her own. One lazy June afternoon, while exploring the back of the garage, Emily pulled off a weathered tarp and discovered what looked like a corroded engine block buried under dust, boxes, and old rags. The logo on the side made her heart skip a beat, Ford Cobra. Her voice echoed across the garage, "Gramps, what's this?" Arthur limped over slowly and gave a long whistle. "Well, I'll be damned. That's the last one I ever worked on. Thought it got tossed. That's a 427 side oiler block. Shelby Cobra. Real deal. But it's dead weight now. Cracked casing, rusted through. Left it for scrap." Emily didn't see a corpse. She saw a challenge. "Can I try fixing it?" Arthur gave a dry laugh. "Fixing that's like trying to rebuild the Titanic with Legos. But Sharia, if you can lift it, you can fix it." She couldn't lift it. So she grabbed a pulley hoist, just like her grandfather had taught her. By evening, the engine sat on a steel stand, and Emily was sketching diagrams in her notebook. That summer, Emily didn't go to camp. She didn't ask for a phone upgrade. She spent every morning, every sweltering afternoon, and every cool evening in that garage, deep into an obsession no one truly understood. First, she studied everything: blueprints from her grandfather's old books, YouTube videos on classic Ford engine builds, and PDFs from obscure automotive forums. She had a small whiteboard on the wall where she listed every issue: cylinder 2 corrosion, missing camshaft, piston scoring, block crack near oil galley. Most kids her age would be overwhelmed. Emily was energized. Using her allowance and spare cash from odd jobs around the neighborhood, she started sourcing replacement parts from junkyards, old mechanics, and online auctions. Her grandfather refused to buy her anything. "You fix it, you earn it," he always said. And she did. She traded an old bicycle for a working carburetor. Convinced a local junkyard to part with a crankshaft in exchange for scrubbing engines for 2 weeks. Even found a cracked but salvageable aluminum intake manifold in the back of a metal recycling bin. By mid-July, her bedroom walls were papered with schematics. Her hands were always scraped. Her fingernails were permanently stained black. But her eyes gleamed with focus and fire. Every time she figured something out, she'd run to her grandfather. "Gramps, did you know you can realign the valve train without the timing too if you use a dial gauge?" "Gramps, I found a workaround for the oil pan clearance issue. They used to call it the engineer's shimp trick." He'd raise an eyebrow, nod, then shuffle back to his chair with a secret smile. He never told her how proud he was, but he didn't need to. She could see it in how long he'd linger in the garage at night, just watching. By August, she had the block resurfaced with a borrowed belt sander. Every surface had been smoothed, every imperfection filled with JB weld or replaced outright. She installed pistons, mounted the crankshaft, replaced valve seals, and remachined the cam bearings under her grandfather's silent but ever-present supervision. One night, close to 2 a.m., Emily stood alone in the garage, staring at the engine. She had just torqued the final bolt on the cylinder head and connected the ignition wiring. Her heart pounded. This was it. She called her grandfather outside. "Want to hear her breathe?" she asked, breathless. Arthur rubbed the sleep from his eyes. "Go ahead." Emily turned the key connected to a test starter circuit. The engine sputtered. Then roared. It wasn't a perfect start, but it started. The Cobra engine, once left for dead, was running again. Its growl shook the windows of the garage, deep and primal, like thunder rolling down a racetrack. Arthur's face changed. The man who had once stood in a pit crew at Le Mans, who had tuned the engines of legends, now stood in front of his granddaughter slack-jawed, teary-eyed. "You didn't just bring it back," he said quietly. "You brought me back." Emily shut off the engine and looked up at him. "I didn't do it alone." He shook his head. "You had help, sure. But the hands on that wrench were yours. The ideas were yours. That fire? That's all you." Later that week, her uncle, visiting from Atlanta, filmed a video of Emily explaining the process. She broke down the steps of rebuilding the engine in her own words, gesturing with oil-covered hands, never once reading from a script. This is a 427-side oiler block. Originally used in the Shelby Cobra, 1965 to 1967. I replaced the pistons, machined the heads, and aligned the crank manually. I had to work around a split oil galley near the rear main. I used an epoxy and external feed workaround. Not perfect, but it'll run. She gave the camera a sheepish smile. "I just like fixing things." He uploaded it with the caption, "12-year-old girl rebuilds Cobra engine from scrap." The video exploded. Within 24 hours, it had 1.2 million views. People couldn't believe it. Some praised her brilliance. Some accused it of being fake. Others demanded interviews, appearances, and Q&As. Automotive forums lit up. Car magazines emailed interview requests. One even offered to fly her to Los Angeles for a feature. But Emily didn't care. She had only one goal, to take that engine, bolt it into a full Cobra replica chassis, and build the whole car piece by piece. Not for fame. Not for YouTube. Just to drive the machine she had resurrected with her bare hands. Unbeknownst to her, the attention she had drawn was about to change everything. Because among the millions watching her video was a certain man with a deep wallet, deeper pride, and a reputation for never being impressed. Within 2 weeks of Emily's video going viral, her quiet life turned upside down. What began as a casual post by her uncle had become a global sensation. Her phone, which had mostly been used to take reference photos of engine parts and track to work specs, now buzzed non-stop. Engineers from Germany, classic car restorers from Japan, college professors, and even astronauts were sending her messages. "You're going to be the next Elon Musk. Please tell me this isn't fake. You're a legend. I've been in the game 30 years, and I've never seen anyone, a kid or adult, do what you did." Emily didn't know what to make of it. One day, she was scraping rust off cylinder walls with a toothbrush, and the next, she was being asked to speak at tech summits. She turned most of them down. She wasn't interested in being famous, she wanted to build. But not everyone was supportive. There were skeptics. Hundreds of them. She probably just followed instructions. Her grandfather must have done it and is using her for attention. No 12-year-old could have rebuilt a 427-side oiler by herself. This is a PR stunt. Emily ignored the noise. But there was one person she couldn't ignore, Preston Vance. Preston was a millionaire collector with a reputation as ruthless as his garage was massive. He had more money than manners and more horsepower than heart. In the automotive world, he was famous for buying ultra-rare vehicles, restoring them through teams of hired experts, and showing them off like he did the work himself. When Preston saw Emily's video, he didn't feel wonder. He felt challenged. He flew his private jet from California to North Carolina that very weekend and rolled into Emily's driveway in a 1966 Shelby GT350, freshly waxed and purring like silk. Behind him were two massive black trucks with his logo on the side, Vance Legacy Motors. The garage doors were open. Emily was inside, elbows deep in a transmission case. Arthur saw the car first and muttered, "What in the hell, a broken bar?" Preston stepped out, wearing crocodile boots, aviator sunglasses, and a $15,000 watch. "Is the genius child home?" he asked, voice like warm syrup and hidden knives. Emily stood up slowly, wiping her hands on a rag. "I'm Emily." Preston smiled a Hollywood smile. "Well, look at you. My goodness. The whole internet's buzzing about you. I had to see for myself. That Cobra engine of yours. She runs," Emily said flatly. "So I've heard. I came to make you an offer." He walked up to the engine, eyeing it. "I'll give you $50,000 for it. Cash. Right now. No questions asked." Emily blinked. "You want to buy my engine?" Preston nodded. "Of course. You built it, yes? Or did Grandpa here help out more than the video let on?" Arthur stepped forward, face tight. "She built it. Every bolt, every valve, every line." Preston smiled thinly. "That so? Well, then you won't mind if my team runs a few tests." He gestured to the two men who had stepped out of the trucks. Master mechanics. Big, confident, and smug. They carried diagnostic equipment and clipboards like they were preparing for a high-level inspection. "I'd like to see how your A-perfect engine performs under scrutiny." Emily didn't flinch. "Go ahead." They ran the tests. Compression ratios. Leak downs. Fuel delivery. Cylinder bore accuracy. The works. They even pulled off the heads to inspect the machining. An hour passed. Then 2. Then 3. By the end of it, the two master mechanics had fallen completely silent. One finally looked up and said, "Zero broken bar. This engine is pristine. Like, factory exact. Maybe better. Whoever built it either has 30 years of racing experience, a broken bar, or she's some kind of prodigy." Preston's jaw clenched. "You're sure? Valve lash is on point. Crank is balanced. There's no excessive blow-by. She even corrected a known oil galley flaw with an external bypass line. It's a well-up, it's brilliant." Emily watched quietly, arms crossed. Preston forced a smile. "Okay. Fine. $100,000. That's my final offer. I'll have it airlifted today." Emily didn't blink. "It's not for sale." Preston leaned in. "Do you have any idea what you're turning down?" Arthur raised a hand. "She said number." Preston straightened. "Suit yourself. But these he jabbed a finger at the engine. This kind of attention doesn't last forever. One viral video, and you think you're untouchable. You'll be forgotten in a month." He turned to go. Emily said softly, "I didn't build it to be remembered. I built it because no one believed I could." He paused. Then walked away. The trucks rolled out. The garage returned to silence. Later that week, Emily received a package in the mail from MIT. It included an invitation to visit their mechanical engineering department, along with a handwritten note. "Greater than what you've done is rare. You don't just understand machines, You feel them. That can't be taught. We'd love to meet you and help you build more. Dr. S. Ramesh, Department of Mech. Engineering. More letters followed. Scholarships. Mentorships. One from Ford Performance. Another from J. Leno's team. Each one amazed her grandfather more than the last. But Emily didn't chase any of it right away. Instead, she went back to her drawings, this time, of the full Shelby Cobra chassis. She was already planning where to fit her engine, what suspension geometry she'd use, and how to customize the body. Every day, she spent hours welding, measuring, testing. Her goal wasn't to sell a piece of history, it was to build her own. 2 months later, she posted a short update online. No hype. Just a shot of the finished Cara Silver with blue racing stripes, glistening under a Carolina sunset. The camera zoomed in on the engine bay, where the once-forgotten 427 Cobra engine now roared with new life. Her caption read, "She's home." That video reached 10 million views. And Preston fans? He saw it. Wordlessly. Alone in his massive showroom full of cars he never touched. Because for all his wealth, he knew he could never buy what Emily had: vision, skill, and soul. A few years later, Emily Carter would go on to win the Young Engineer Award at Le Mans, debut her own custom automotive line, and graduate from MIT at 19. But to her, the moment that mattered most was still that night in the garage, when an engine forgotten by time started to breathe again, and not just because of torque and timing, but because one 12-year-old girl believed she could make it roar. And she did.